The latest reports from Gaza suggest Palestinian militants and Israeli forces are continuing to exchange fire, despite an earlier announcement by Hamas that the two sides had reached a truce. Israel said on Saturday it had carried out its biggest attack against Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip since 2014. Lebo Diseko has the latest, and just a warning, there are some distressing images in her report.
This is what Israel is calling the hardest blow it's dealt the militant group Hamas in Gaza since their large-scale airstrikes in 2014. The IDF says its fighter jets hit dozens of targets, including a weapons manufacturing site, storage facilities and a training camp. Israel says the raids were in response to rockets fired into its territory. 3 people were wounded in a rocket attack on a house in Sderot.
In consultation with the Ministry of Defence, the Chief of Staff and the top security command of the State of Israel, we've decided on strong action against Hamas terrorism. The IDF struck Hamas with the hardest blow since Operation Protective Edge, and we will increase the strength of our attacks as necessary.
But Palestinian health officials say 2 teenagers who'd been passing by a building were killed in the strikes. 12 people are said to have been injured. This latest round of hostilities took place amid the simmering tensions at Gaza's perimeter fence. On Friday, Israeli soldiers shot dead a 15-year-old boy, bringing the number of Palestinians killed during regular protests to 130. Earlier, Hamas said the two sides had reached a truce, but it's not clear if that will hold. There are reports of ongoing exchanges of fire between the army and militants, and Israel says only the facts on the ground will dictate its actions. Lebo Diseko, BBC News.
Well, Michael Singh, a senior fellow at the Washington Institute and a former senior director for Middle East affairs at the National Security Council, explained why he thought the truce has been called for and how the White House has been pushing for a ceasefire.
Well, it seems that what Hamas is trying to achieve is to break out of this isolation which has been imposed not just by Israel, but also by Egypt and by the Palestinian Authority. There have been sanctions from Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, against Gaza for some time now, dating back to an assassination attempt against a Palestinian minister in Gaza. And so it seems that Hamas is using the demonstrations, using the kites, using now the rocket and mortar fire as a way to sort of agitate and get out of that isolation. I don't think either side in this case wants an open confrontation. Both sides probably would like to avoid that if they can, but that's awfully difficult to avoid when you have this back and forth exchange of violence. And so there's going to need to be some sort of new approach to Gaza, and you have the UN coordinator, Nikolai Mladenov, working on that. I do believe the White House itself is working on a new approach to Gaza, because I think there's wide recognition of just how dangerous the situation is.